I won 8 million bucks overnight. First thing I did, rushed to the hospital to pay for my son's surgery. That's when my phone rang. Ian, a coworker, was on the line. Something came up. You gotta get back here right now. My wife, Mara, grabbed the bank card from my hand. Her voice was all sweet and caring. Just give me the PIN. I'll handle the hospital bills. Go ahead. Work's important. We'll be fine. In my past life, I didn't think twice. I trusted her completely and took off. My son never got that surgery. Instead, the cops came for me. Turns out Mara and Ian had set me up. They pinned Ian's embezzlement on me. With no money for treatment. My son died in the hospital. My parents couldn't take it. They both had heart attacks and passed away. And me? I rotted in prison until I couldn't take it anymore and ended my life. After I died, my soul drifted to some fancy vacation villa in the Maldives. Mara was there laughing with Ian. That idiot won a fortune and blew it on that sick kid. He made my life miserable. She laughed even harder. Now his whole family is dead. And we get to live it up for the rest of our lives. Think of it as payback from that loser. Ha. Then I opened my eyes. I was back in the hospital hallway. Right at the moment Mara reached for my bank card. This time, I still gave her the PIN. Honey, let me take care of the bills. Go on. Work's important. Don't worry about us. My wife. Mara held the bank card tight. $8 million in there. She sounded sweet. But her eyes, they were lit up with excitement. In my past life, I trusted her completely. I never saw it coming. She took the money meant to save our son Jaden. And teamed up with Ian to frame me for embezzlement. I got 10 years in prison. Jaden died in the hospital without treatment. My parents died of heart attacks. One after the other. Their bodies were left on the street with no one to help. Now that I had a second chance, I was burning with rage. I wanted to tear that woman apart with my bare hands. But that would just land me back in prison. Not worth it. I was gonna make Mara and Ian pay my way. I grabbed her wrist tight. Thanks for handling the hospital stuff. This money is for Jaden's surgery. Make sure it goes to the right account. See, last time she didn't send the money to the hospital. She sent it straight to Ian's account. Something flickered in her eyes. She looked away. Don't worry. I won't mess that up. I smiled, alright. Then I turned around, the smile was gone. I walked out of the hospital. Pulled out my phone and called the cops. Hi, I need to report a fraud. 2 minutes ago I got scammed out of $8 million. I need help getting my money back. $8 million. The officer got serious real quick and opened a case right away. Good thing you called so fast. We'll help you recover the funds. If you get any leads, let us know. Thank you, I said, sounding worried. That money is for my son's surgery. Please help. After I hung up, I smiled. I wasn't worried that money would be back in my account soon enough. This was exactly what Mara and Ian did to frame me last time. But now they were gonna get a taste of their own medicine. My phone kept buzzing. Ian again. I didn't pick up, didn't need to. I knew he was trying to get me back to the office. So I'd walk right into their trap. I smirked. I grabbed a cab. But instead of heading to work, I went straight to the lottery office. Hi, I'm the guy who won 8 million this morning. I need an official certificate proving I'm the winner right now. Last time I was so desperate to pay for Jaden's surgery that I skipped this step completely. That mistake cost me everything. After they framed me, I tried to get my win verified. But Mara and Ian had already paid off the lottery staff. I changed the winner's info to someone else. I couldn't prove the money was mine. This time I got everything notarized. I even got the staff to print out the transaction receipt, showing the money went into my account. I wasn't giving Mara or Ian any openings this time. My phone rang again. Ian. I picked up. Jack, where are you? Something major happened. It involves you. Mr. Madison wants you back here now. He sounded panicked but wouldn't tell me what was going on. Classic move. He was trying to mess with my head. So I'd show up confused and fall right into his trap. I kept my cool. Sure. I'll be there. I took my sweet time getting to the office. When I walked in, Ian looked at me with fake disappointment. Jack, how could you do this? Have you lost your mind? Cut the crap. I said. Just say what you mean. He tried to hide his smug look. And raised his voice so everyone could hear. Jack. Drop the act. The company found out you've been stealing millions. Whole office went quiet. Everyone looked up at me in shock. Jack always seems so honest. Wow, someone's been stealing funds since last week. Never thought it was him. Can't judge a book by its cover. Looks honest, but he's greedy as hell. Why does he need that much money? Got side chicks or something. I heard his kid's sick and needs surgery. Maybe that's why. Still. Stealing company money is illegal. He's going straight to prison. Everyone was whispering and looking at me like I was trash. Ian looked so smug. I stayed calm. I didn't steal anything. It wasn't me. Richard Madison, the GM. Threw a stack of papers at me. Jack, we have proof. Stop lying. I trusted you. I was going to recommend you for a promotion last week. This is how you repay us. I flipped through the pages. Financial reports, transfer records from the company system. Every transaction had my name and employee ID on it. Then I got to the last page. The most recent transfer was 10 minutes ago. $8 million. Sent from the company's accounts to a bank account under my name. I pulled out my phone and checked my bank app. Yep, $8 million had hit my account 10 minutes ago. Richard snapped. Jack. What do you have to say for yourself? My co-workers looked at me like I was garbage. The proof's right there. Let's see him talk his way out of this. Just call the cops. We bust our backs for this company just to pay our bills. Who does he think he is taking company money? Anger spread through the room like wildfire. Everyone here did the same kind of work. Of course, they weren't happy. Seeing a coworker cheat the system and get rich overnight. Ian watched it all with a smug grin. I looked at him, then turned to Richard. Mr. Madison, don't you think this is a little too convenient? I got here 10 minutes ago. And suddenly 8 million shows up in my account. I'm guessing Ian gave you all this evidence. Ian looked pissed. So what if I did? We're co-workers, but I can't just let you hurt the company. That's why I reported you. I laughed. I'm not the only one with access to the financial system. Plus, last time I logged in, you came over and looked at my screen. You probably saw my password. How do I know you didn't do this just to frame me? Richard paused. Something didn't add up. They've been looking into the stolen funds since last week. Had nothing to do with me. But now all the evidence suddenly pointed my way. Richard looked at Ian, frowning. Panic flashed across Ian's face. But he pulled himself together quick. Mr. Madison, don't listen to him. The records aren't the only reason I suspected him. I also have a witness. That's right. I'm the witness. Everyone turned to look at the entrance. It was Mara. The whole office went crazy. Isn't that Jack's wife? Oh, man. If his own wife says so, it must be true. Ian looks smug. Jack. Even your wife reported you. What now? I wasn't surprised last time. Mara showed up at exactly the right moment to deliver the final blow. Mara was a great actress. Her eyes turned red instantly. Jack, I really didn't want to do this. But I feel so guilty, I scoffed. Mara, if you actually had a heart, you'd be at the hospital with our son. Not here helping Ian frame me. Something flickered in her eyes. But she recovered fast. I'm doing this for our son. I can't watch you dig yourself deeper into this hole. She went on, sounding all righteous. If Jaden's dad is a criminal, Kids will bully him at school. Won't be able to hold his head up. Your mistake will ruin his future. Jack. It's not too late to confess. You'll go to prison, but that's what you deserve for what you did. Ian chimed in. She's right. Turn yourself in, cooperate. And maybe they'll go easy on you. Yeah, it's all out in the open now. No point being stubborn. Just confess you took what wasn't yours. Time to pay up. Turn yourself in. Suddenly, everyone in the room had already decided I was guilty. They all kept telling me to confess. Mara and Ian could barely contain their excitement. I didn't panic. I stayed calm. Mara, you're lying. If I'd stolen company money, Jaden would have had his surgery a long time ago. I won $8 million today. And gave you the card so you could pay for his surgery. Now you're here accusing me of stealing. How could you do this to Jaden while he's lying in a hospital bed? When I mentioned our son, Mara didn't even flinch. She spoke like she was on some moral high ground. I'm not lying. What would I gain from lying? Yes, Jaden needs the money. But you can't just steal it. If you do, he'll grow up being looked down. I stared at her. Mara. Jaden is our only son. Are you really willing to risk his life just to frame me? Her eyes went cold, but she kept up the act. Jack, I'm doing this for our son. Stop being so stubborn and turn yourself in. I'll figure out another way to pay for Jaden's surgery. We'll wait for you to get out. Her act was so good that everyone started siding with her. I don't think his wife's lying. No mom would risk her kid's life just to frame her husband, right? They only have one kid. She must be devastated about the surgery money. But Jack stole it. He shouldn't have touched that money. At least she's thinking straight. If there's no money, they can crowdfund online. Way better than stealing from the company. Besides, he took millions. Surgery doesn't cost that much. He's just using his kid as an excuse. Probably wants to spend the money on himself. Mora and Ian stood together looking at me like they'd already won. I kept my face blank, but I was confused. Mora always complained that Jaden's illness was draining us dry. And ruining her lifestyle. But I just won $8 million. That was enough to pay for the surgery and still have plenty left over. Plus, I was about to get promoted and get a raise. Things were looking up. Why was she so set on betraying me? Ian was already married. Did she think teaming up with him would make her his wife? Mara saw me standing there silent. She thought I had nothing left to say. She touched her stomach without thinking and said sweetly. Jack, you already broke the rules. There's no running from this. Think of it as setting an example for your son. Turn yourself in. I promise I'll get him the treatment he needs, okay? I glared at her. There had to be more to this than money. Just then, Richard snapped. Call the police. I looked at my phone and smiled. No need. They're already here. Right on cue, a few cops walked into the office. Mara and Ian pointed at me looking thrilled. Officers, that's Jack Lowe. Arrest him. The cops looked at me. Nodded, then asked. Which one of you is Ian? Staffer. The air in the office was so stagnant you could choke on it. Ian's finger was still pointed at me, his face twisted in a rictus of triumphant malice. Mara stood beside him, clutching her stomach, playing the role of the devastated wife to perfection. Which one of you is Ian Staffer? The lead officer repeated, his voice cutting through the murmurs of the office. Ian stepped forward, puffing his chest out. That's me. I'm the one who uncovered the embezzlement. That man there, Jack Lowe, he. Ian Staffer, the officer interrupted, stepping past me and pulling a pair of handcuffs from his belt. You are under arrest for corporate espionage, grand larceny, and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. The silence that followed was heavy, absolute. Ian blinked. What? No, you don't understand. The money is in his account. He's the thief. We know where the money is, sir, the officer said, spinning Ian around and slamming him against a desk. The clack-clack of the cuffs was the loudest sound in the room. We also have the IP logs provided by your IT department and a verified report from Mr. Lowe filed prior to the transfer stating that his credentials had been compromised. We traced the command to your workstation, Mr. Staffer. Mara let out a strangled gasp. She backed away from Ian as if he were radioactive. Her eyes darted around the room, panic finally cracking her porcelain mask. Richard Madison, the GM, looked like he'd been slapped. Jack. What is going on? I stepped forward, smoothing my jacket. I didn't look at Ian. I looked at Mara. It's simple, Mr. Madison, I said, my voice calm, devoid of the shaking fear I had felt in my past life. I won the state lottery this morning. $8 million. I went to the lottery commission, verified the win, and deposited the check. Why would a man who just legally made $8 million steal another $8 million from his employer 10 minutes later? I pulled the folded, notarized certificate from my pocket and tossed it onto Richard's desk. It landed with a soft thud that felt like a gavel strike. I knew Ian was gunning for me, I continued, turning my gaze to Ian, who was now being dragged toward the door, kicking and screaming. I just didn't realize my wife was holding the smoking gun. Mara froze. The color drained from her face until she looked like a corpse. Jack, she whispered, her voice trembling. She looked at the police, then at the lottery certificate, and finally at me. The realization hit her like a freight train. She had just framed a multimillionaire to run away with a felon. Baby, she stammered, tears instantly welling up again, but these were tears of terror, not performance. I didn't know. Ian told me you were in trouble. He said if I didn't help him, you'd go to jail anyway. I was trying to save you. Save me? I stepped into her personal space. I smelled her perfume, the expensive stuff I bought her for our anniversary by working overtime. You were going to let Jaden die? No. Never, she screamed, reaching for my arm. I pulled back. You have the bank card. The PIN is 8829. Did you pay the hospital bill? She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Her hand clutched the card in her pocket. Check the card, officer, I said to the second policeman. The officer asked Mara to empty her pockets. She produced the card. He called dispatch to run a quick check on recent activity. 0 transactions in the last hour, the officer confirmed. She didn't pay for the surgery, I said, addressing the room. She was here. Helping him. I pointed at the door where Ian had vanished. My son is dying in a hospital bed, and his mother is here securing her boyfriend's getaway fund. The collective gasp from my coworkers was satisfying, but I didn't have time for it. I had a son to save. I'm done here, I told Richard. I quit. I didn't wait for the elevator. I took the stairs, my heart pounding, not from exertion, but from the adrenaline of the timeline shifting. I made it to the hospital in record time. The nurse at the front desk looked up, sad recognition in her eyes. In the last life, this was the face that told me my son was gone. I need to pay for Jaden Lowe's surgery. Immediate transfer, I said, slapping a new card, my personal one, connected to the lottery winnings, on the counter. The transaction went through. The green light on the terminal was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. Prep the ore, the doctor said, rushing out. We didn't think, we'll do our best, Mr. Lowe. Just save him, I said. I sat in the waiting room for 6 hours. In my past life, I spent these hours in a holding cell, being beaten by a cellmate while my parents died of grief. This time, I drank bad coffee and watched the clock. Around 8 p.m., the doors swung open. Mara rushed in. She looked disheveled. Her hair was a mess. Jack, she cried, running toward me. I didn't stand up. I just watched her. She fell to her knees in front of my chair, grabbing my hands. Jack, please. You have to listen to me. Ian threatened me. He said he'd hurt Jaden if I didn't do it. Liar, I said. The word was soft, but it stopped her cold. I'm not lying. I love you. We're a family. We have $8 million now, Jack. We can go anywhere. We can cure Jaden. We can have a fresh start. She placed her hand on her stomach again. That subconscious tick. Who's pregnant? I asked. She froze. What? You keep touching your stomach. You did it at the office. You're doing it now. I leaned forward. You and Ian. How long? Mara's face hardened. She realized the sweet wife act wasn't working. She stood up, brushing off her knees. The tears evaporated. 6 months, she spat. Ian is twice the man you are. He takes what he wants. You're just a worker bee, Jack. A boring, pathetic worker bee. A worker bee with $8 million, I reminded her. Half of that is mine, she hissed. We're married. No prenup. I'll divorce you, take $4 million, and bail Ian out. You think you've won? This is just the beginning. I laughed. It was a dark, hollow sound that made her flinch. You really didn't pay attention to the dates, did you, Mara? What are you talking about? I bought the ticket 3 days ago. But we've been separated in the eyes of the state for 6 months, since you moved into the guest room and we stopped sharing finances. My lawyer is already filing for divorce based on infidelity and abandonment. And as for Ian. I stood up, towering over her. Ian isn't getting out. The embezzlement charges are just the tip. I gave the police access to his private messages on the company server. The ones where you two planned to overdose Jaden post-surgery to save on long-term care costs. Mara's face went white. A pure, ghostly white. You saw that? I saw everything. In my past life, and this one. Mr. Lowe. The surgeon stepped into the waiting room, pulling off his mask. I pushed past Mara as if she didn't exist. How is he? It was close, the doctor smiled, tiredly. But he made it. Jaden is going to be fine. I fell against the wall, weeping. Not for Mara. Not for the money. But for the boy who finally got to grow up. The legal proceedings were brutal, but I had money, and money is a distinct advantage in the justice system. Ian Staffer turned on Mara within 24 hours. When the police played the audio recording of Mara discussing how Jaden was a financial burden that needed to be resolved, Ian's lawyer cut a deal. He testified that Mara was the mastermind, that she manipulated him into the embezzlement scheme by promising him a life of luxury with my lottery winnings, which she had somehow found out about before I told her. She had snooped through my jacket the night before. That was a detail I hadn't known in my first life. She knew I won. That's why she initiated the plan that specific morning. Mara was arrested at her parents' house. My parents, alive and healthy in this timeline, stood by my side as the police took her away. My mother held Jaden's hand. He was in a wheelchair, recovering, but smiling. Why, Mara? My mother asked as they cuffed her. He's your son. Mara didn't look at Jaden. She looked at me, her eyes filled with a toxic mix of hatred and madness. Because I deserve better than a sick kid and a husband who smells like cheap coffee. I deserve the villa. I deserve the Maldives. I chilled. The Maldives. That was where I saw her in the afterlife. It wasn't just a random vacation, it was her specific fantasy. Enjoy the view from the cell, I said. Because of the conspiracy to commit murder, Jaden, and the grand larceny, Mara was sentenced to 15 years. Ian got 12. But I wasn't done. I hired a forensic accountant to dig into every aspect of Ian's life. I found hidden assets, illegal gambling debts, and previous frauds. I made sure every cent he had was seized to pay back the company. I ensured his wife knew about the affair and the baby Mara was carrying. Ian's wife divorced him, taking the house and the kids. He was left with nothing but prison commissary credit. As for Mara's pregnancy, she lost the baby in prison due to stress. It was a tragedy, in a way. An innocent life lost because of the greed of its parents. I paid for the burial, but I didn't attend. 5 years passed. Jaden was 12 now. He played soccer. He wasn't the star player, but he could run without wheezing, and that was a miracle enough for me. I didn't quit working, but I started my own business, a security consultancy firm specializing in corporate fraud. Irony is a powerful motivator. I used my knowledge of how Ian and Mara operated to help companies protect themselves. I met someone else. Her name was Elena. She was a pediatrician, one of the doctors who helped with Jaden's rehab. She didn't care about the money, she drove a beat-up Honda and yelled at vending machines when they stole her quarters. We took things slow. I had trust issues that ran deeper than the ocean. But she was patient. One afternoon, a letter arrived from the state penitentiary. It was from Mara. Jack. I know I messed up. I've had time to think. I'm eligible for parole in 3 years. I have nowhere to go. My parents died last year. I know you paid for the funeral, thank you. Can we talk? For Jaden's sake. He needs his mother. I held the letter over the gas burner of my stove and watched the edges curl and blacken. Dad? Jaden walked into the kitchen, holding a soccer ball. Who was that from? I dropped the burning paper into the sink and turned on the tap. The ash swirled down the drain. Nobody, I said, smiling at him. Just spam. You ready for practice? Yeah. Is Elena coming? She's already in the car. 10 years after the reset. I took Jaden and Elena on vacation. We didn't go to the Maldives. I couldn't stomach the thought of it. We went to the Swiss Alps. The air was crisp, clean, the opposite of that suffocating hospital hallway. One evening, sitting by the fire, my phone buzzed. It was a news alert. Former inmate found deceased in halfway house. I clicked the link. It was Mara. She had been released early on good behavior but struggled to find work. She had reconnected with Ian, who had been released a year prior. They had tried to run a scam on a local elderly couple, the grandparent scam. They botched it. Ian panicked and fled, leaving Mara behind. She died of a drug overdose in a Motel 6 outside of Jersey City. Ian was back in custody, facing life as a habitual offender. I put the phone down. I waited to feel something. Joy? Vindication? Sadness? There was nothing. Just a quiet sense of closure. The loop was closed. The ghosts were gone. I looked at Jaden, now a young man, laughing as he tried to teach Elena how to play chess. My parents were FaceTiming us from Florida, complaining about the humidity but looking happy. In my past life, I rotted in a cell while my family crumbled. I ended my life in despair. In this life, I had rewritten the ending. I walked over to the window and looked out at the snow-covered mountains. The reflection in the glass showed a man with graying hair, lines around his eyes, but a straight back. Jack. Elena called out. Your move. I turned away from the window, leaving the reflection, and the past, behind. I'm coming, I said. And for the first time in 2 lifetimes, I was truly free.